So again, welcome to the Inspire Spiritual Community. We, for the time being, are meeting online on the second and fourth Sundays of every month. This is the second Sunday of November, and we have our very own Reverend Alfreda Lanoix bringing forth our main message. And we also have a God shot by our very own Brandon Kneefel. So we've got a great service lined up for today. As I said, we meet on the second and fourth Sundays of each month. On the fourth Sunday, we typically have our founding minister, Reverend Jesse Brune Horan. But this month, because our fourth Sunday happens right before Giving Tuesday, we have both Reverend Jesse Brune Horan and Reverend Candace G together doing our sermon. So dual ministers, getting us ready for Giving Tuesday, which is Tuesday, November 30th. In addition to that, I just want to put out the call there. If you feel moved to be of service to the Inspire Spiritual Community, we'd love to have you join our Sunday Service Committee, particularly now because we're looking at the idea and possibility of meeting in person again. And so we need people to come together to make that happen. Choose the locations, get the location set up. So if you're interested in any way of serving and supporting the community, by all means, send an email to office@inspirespiritualcommunity.org, or the email that you received, you can just reply to that and just say, hey, I'm interested in volunteering. Here's the gift that I'd like to share. So we invite you, if you feel so moved. We have a great time. Our Sunday Service Committee has a great time. It's myself, Reverend Amita Bliss, Reverend Tom Hennessy, and Casey Carroll. We have a great time getting ready for the service and creating this wonderful space that we get to meet in. And so very, very soon, we'll be meeting in person. So we're looking forward to that. On the subject of meeting in person, we are having a holiday gathering. So it'll be our first time to get together. So it won't be a service, but it will be a holiday gathering, probably at a park. We're still looking at the location, but remember this date, December 19th. December 19th. You'll get an email with more details about it, but just remember December 19th, we'll finally do a gathering somewhere outdoors where we can actually be together. So again, watch your email for that so that you'll have that information. Right now, if this is your first time being here, I invite you to just in the chat, just put your name, where you're from, so that we can welcome you. Thanks to Zoom, we are a global community. We've got people from all around the world joining us, and we definitely want to welcome anyone who is here for the first time. And let's just welcome ourselves. How about that? Let's all rub our hands together. And leave yourself muted, but repeat after me. Welcome to Inspire. We know who you are. You are the image and likeness of God. You're created out of the substance of God. And God is beautiful because you are on the planet. Welcome to Inspire. Yay, give yourselves some jazz hands. And with all of that love in our hearts, let's just take a moment to turn within and do a little bit of meditating as we just take a few moments to allow our eyes to close. And as we allow our eyes to close, let's allow our hearts to open. And so we close the outer eyes, but we allow our hearts to open even wider. And as your attention is on your heart, also pay attention to your breathing. Let's imagine that we can breathe directly through our heart. Just feel that for a moment. Inhaling love through our heart. Exhaling love through our heart. With every inhale, love. With every exhale, love. Just feeling the love. We give ourselves permission to be fully present right here and right now. Feeling this love, we also get to feel gratitude. Each of us being thankful to ourselves for keeping the divine appointment. Perhaps in your own mind's eye, you can hear your own voice using your own name saying, thank you for showing up to service today. Take a deep breath and hear that in your mind, using your own name. Thank you. Thank you, Garrick, for showing up today. And in your mind, hear the words, I am open and available to God's wisdom. Feeling the love with every heartbeat. Feeling love with every breath. And feeling gratitude for this sacred time that we get to share together. As we continue following the breath, again, placing our attention on our heart. Imagine that we can open our heart even wider. And in this openness and receptivity, I take this opportunity to speak a word of blessing for today's gathering. Mother, Father, God, infinite intelligence, how thankful I am for this moment right here and right now. I'm thankful and grateful for the technology of prayer that gives us the opportunity to turn within and to open our hearts so that we may be wide open and available to the wisdom of God as it flows in, through, and as every aspect of this service. I'm absolutely aware that God is all that there is. I'm absolutely aware that all that there is God. One power, one presence, life itself. And it shows up as everything that I am. I could never, ever be separate from the only thing that exists. And as I know this to be my truth, I know the very same truth for and about everyone present right here and right now, that each of us show up individually and collectively as God itself. God could not and would not be fully and completely expressed unless we're fully and completely expressed. And so this service is an opportunity for us to express God in a big, bold, magnificent way. Each of us is divinely guided and gracefully compelled into right action. I'm absolutely thankful and grateful for our very own Reverend Alfreda Lanoix for the message that moves through her, knowing indeed that it is one of inspiration, healing, and transformation. I'm thankful for the yes and the God shot of our very own Brandon Kneefel, for I know that God just works a wonderful, wonderful tapestry dance as this service. And each of us is so inspired that we light up the world. that we remember the truth of our own divinity, and we are met with appreciation for who and what we are. The world is made a better place because we showed up this morning. And so the goodness that the world experiences can't omit us. No, no, no. First, we are filled to overflowing with the love, with the joy, with the health and the wholeness and the prosperity that God is. We are filled to overflowing so that we absolutely, positively must share it with the world. It happens easily. It happens effortlessly. It happens constantly and consistently, automatically. God is being God right here and right now. I already know that all is exceedingly well. Therefore, I release this prayer to the action of God's living, loving law. I let God guide us and direct us from glory to greater glory. It is done. And so it is. Amen. And so just take another deep breath. And with your heart wide open, I invite our very own Reverend Tom Hennessy to lead us all in the mission statement. It's coming up on your screen. Read along with Tom.
Good morning, everybody. Our mission statement: Inspire is a spiritual community of like-minded souls committed to walking our talk in joyous fellowship by demonstrating the power of love, compassion, and non-judgment every day in every way. Recognizing the divinity of all life, we stand united by actively liberating humanity by healing judgment, fear, and shame within ourselves. Our intention to create world peace, piece by piece. Woohoo! And now I present to you for our God shot, our own Brandon Kneefel.
Hi, everyone. Can we hear me okay? Thank you so much, Tom. Always good to see you. So good to see everyone. I feel lit between Garrick and Alfreda. I'm just like ready to go. I feel like I need to say nothing and just like sit in all of it. But I'm so grateful to be here. And it's been about a year since I've spoke here at Inspire, but you're always in my heart. When I think about God shots, I often think about them being a mixture of synchronicities and just like God saying, hey, pay attention, this is your little wake-up call. It's a little mixture between, okay, this might be the path I'm supposed to be on, and then God's gonna throw something, either a challenge or an opportunity my way to make it clear. And something has come up for me in the last year or so, especially around my birthday this summer. And it's one of the more subtle God shots, in the sense that it was a very, very fine window of opportunity that God was saying, walk through, or you're gonna be doing the same shit over and over. Oh, I'm sorry. Same stuff over and over and over. I'm a potty mouth over here. So when I celebrated my birthday in the summer, I thought about what I wanted for the year ahead. And I was surprised because it was either one, I don't know what I want for my life for the year ahead, or two, nothing. And the weird thing about that was I'm a goal-oriented person. I'm someone who likes to accomplish and achieve. So to not have something to focus on and to like put my ego into is not good. It's like I felt directionless. And it wasn't like an apathy or nihilism. It was almost like a spiritual limbo. It was like, God's like, I'm going to wait and like take away all these superficial desires that you've had your whole life until you actually get it. Because what was I needing to get? Well, since you're in spiritual community, if you're like me, then many of us who end up in spiritual community are like those who end up in AA or 12 steps. It's like, it was the last option. perhaps the best one, but it was the last option. We go there kicking and screaming. We're like, no, I don't want to have to do the inner work. I don't want to have to dive deeper. And that was the case for me. And I know that it's like that because I've had to be part of both communities, 12-step and spiritual community, in order to get to where my soul is wanting to go. And both communities have pointed me to what was actually missing. So part of the work I do in my day-to-day life is I do shamanic journeys for myself and others, and I often get information about past lives. And in these past lives, there's always a theme of like what my soul was going after. And each time the soul was seeking something, whether it was something as wholesome as family and legacy or riches and fame, but it's always seeking something. And then there's a point in that past life where I got the clear feeling of that's not it. That's not it. And I also get info about my life in the present moment. So this present life. And I look at that as all the things that have driven me. You know, Alfreda's talking about what drives you. And I think about all the things that drove me in the past. You know, when I was younger, it was trauma motivated desires and goals to prove people wrong, to achieve something so that I didn't have to rely on anybody else. These were trauma motivated desires. Those were driving me. And then drugs and alcohol drove me. Having fun nights drove me. Then it was spiritual achievement, which was like, okay, that was like threw me off a little bit because I was like, okay, the spiritual ego is also a thing, you know, to get to a point where I can feel like I'm above the duality of this life experience. Ooh, that's also a thing that's not it. So it's getting all this information of what this is not. And the more I find that that's not it, the more I discover all the things that no longer drive me. And the more I realize that I have one option left: to meet myself in pure blissful consciousness over and over and over until I am evolved enough to rest there, which is a sense of enlightenment, right? To either find self-realization or at least give it my best shot and surrender. So enlightenment is possible for any soul on earth. But as we know, it is extremely rare. But also, as we know, so is life itself. The fact that we are here, that these millions of configurations had to come together precisely to form you and me and allow us to actually grow and experience this life and make it this far, it's a miracle. So let's not forget that the fact that we made it here was quite possibly 90% of the work, and the rest of the 10% is that soul evolution. And you know that you're here, you're in spiritual community. If you're in this spiritual community, then that spiritual evolution is the reason you're here. And possibly in this lifetime, you are divinely wired to reach self-realization, to reach enlightenment. Or at the very least, get so darn close that you jump into your next life or your next round, elevated as all get out, lit and ready to ascend to where you are rightfully your truest, highest being. So for me, this sense of actually letting myself be driven towards this path is the last house on the left. It's the last house because I no longer have the desire to chase monetary, financial goals, career goals, fame goals, body goals, relationship goals. Not saying that those things aren't necessary and important for many of us, and not saying that they won't be in the future for me, but right now, my soul is saying, this is the time to do it. Because you are aware of it, this is the time to go for it. This is the time to at least, again, give it your best effort and surrender. So it's the last house on the left, as all my desires for so many other things seem to fall away when I realize that that's not fulfilling me. But again, even if it's the last house, it's the house I've been waiting lifetimes to enter. So thank you. And now for your beautiful sermon from the powerful and magnetic Reverend Alfreda. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Brandon. That was amazing. Please, you guys, give him a hand. Oh my God. Ooh, listen, I'm full. I am absolutely full. I needed to hear each and every word that you just said. We could say amen right now and go home because, honey, ooh, you spoke some truth up in here this morning. Yes, you did. Wow. And I knew it. Wow. This, this community, this spiritual community, and I say this often, that the reason why I do this Inspire every second Sunday is because it feeds my soul. And whenever there is a topic that I am expressing or I am studying, it feeds my soul first before I can even share with you. And this topic, what's driving you, has been one of the most difficult topics. And even though I chose the topic, that's how powerful the universe is, because it was something that I myself needed. Because a lot of times we are so driven, but we don't know what's driving us. We don't know what the thought behind the thoughts, our original thought that we made true, has been our driving force in our lives. And so even though we've had different experiences, even though we've evolved, even though we are enlightened, because sometimes we live so unconsciously until we're on automatic pilot. And that automatic pilot is being driven by those thoughts that we took to be our truth. Now, it's okay to be driven. It's okay, but you gotta know what's driving you, because the key to life is balance. The beauty of life is to always realize that you have the power to always make a choice in each and every stage of your life, in each and every situation. But if you don't know that you have that power and that you're being driven by that thought behind the thought unconsciously, what happens is that you continue to have the same experiences over and over and over again. It's okay to drive to acquire things, whether they be material things or not. It's okay to like, it's okay to want nice things. It's okay to want to bond. In other words, that desire to be loved and loved. It's okay. It's okay to want to learn, to want to defend ourselves and protect ourselves. It's okay to feel emotional experiences. But what's important in all those situations is to be aware of what's driving me. So you have to ask yourself that question. What's driving me? What's driving me? What are the things that make me who I am today? What makes me who I am today? Usually it comes from our environment. It comes from our experiences. It comes from our society and our culture. And we take these things and we try to begin to fit into the things that we go through. What's driving me? I'm reminded of a story of myself. And I used to move every 2 to 3 years. I would have to move. I would find a location, I would find a house, I would find an apartment, and let me tell you, I would get in that apartment and I would decorate. You know, I consider myself a decorator, a bootleg decorator. You just, you know, with arrangements or whatever, and I would get into this house and I would decorate and I would have the walls painted and I would have the floors done. And soon as I would get to the last nail that I would nail in the wall to hang whatever picture I wanted to hang, instead of me having this feeling of completion or this feeling of let me now enjoy the fruits of my labor, I would be ready to move on. I would be ready. I would become so restless. There would be something inside of me that would be driving me to say, no, you know, there's something better out there. There's something bigger out there. Oh my God. And my partner that I would be with would be like, are you kidding me? We're getting ready to move again. And I would be like, no, but this really is going to be the place for us. It's perfect. It's bigger. It's taller. It's wider. It didn't matter what reasoning and excuse I would use, but there would be this deep drive inside of me that we have got to go. And so I was being driven. But I didn't know what was driving me was I was expecting that once I put the last nail into this house, it would become a home. Because I didn't realize that home is within. Because of my experiences with home. Because as a little girl, there was no one there to say, I love you. There was no place that I felt safe in. There was no place that I felt like people saw me as this little black little girl. And so because of my environment, because of the abuse, it was time to go. And so when I left home, when I left that house, I was driven that I would never feel that again. But I didn't realize that that was an inside job. That even though I had accomplished many things and many titles, see, we take off. You know, something happens and we take off. We get our heart broken and we take off. And we're driven. And as soon as we get in that arena again, because we have not taken the time to heal, because we have not taken the time to realize that the thought behind the thought is not necessarily the real, authentic thought of who we are. And so we are driven and we take off. Relationship after relationship. And you look back and you realize, wait a minute, I've been through that before. Conversations with God said, I will keep showing up until you get it. It's not a punishment. It's just something that you need to heal from within so that you can move on, so that you can begin to appreciate. And I began to realize that I was the common denominator in the situation. That the little girl that was never protected, the little girl that was abused, the little girl that her mama was not able because of her own pain. She wasn't able to recognize my needs, my wants, my desires. And so that little girl went out into the world and she became a caretaker because she realized that, wait a minute, when I'm taking care of other people, they see me. When I'm taking care of other people, they acknowledge me and they thank me and they make me feel special. And so then she goes and embarks upon this role of caretaking, taking care, but not taking care of herself, not including herself in the equation. And when you become a caretaker, you measure your value. You measure who you are by what you do and what you give to other people. And mentally, you become exhausted. You get jobs that you become caretakers. You gravitate towards fields that you become caretaker. It's not a coincidence that I became a COO of a nonprofit agency dealing with HIV and AIDS and people dying because I needed to take care of someone. It's not a coincidence that I became a minister, that I became a reverend, because I needed to take care of someone. Because I was driven. You become a people pleaser. And it's more important that I please you than to recognize my own needs, my own desires. When you are driven and you don't know what's driving you, you don't even know where and how to begin the process of healing. And so then you become a wounded healer. My story. When you receive these messages and you keep them as your truth and you build your life off of sinking sand, you begin to realize, or you begin to build off not feeling like that you are enough. And so you stay on the selling block. And you sell your soul, and you sell yourself cheap. You begin to give more than what you have to give. You give from an empty cup. You give when you don't even have it to give, because it's more important how people see you than how you see yourself. Because you want to be loved. Because you got the message that you can't be accepted unless you're doing something for someone else. And you become responsible. But not just responsible for yourself, but you take on this responsibility of your community, the responsibility of your race, the responsibility of your gender, the responsibility of the world. And then you try to figure, why am I exhausted? And then you never, ever give enough to the ego. When you are driven by your ego will make you stay in situations that you know, that you're familiar with, but that are not necessarily for your highest good. And then you become the sacrificial lamb. Oh, I'll go. Send me, I'll go. Send me, I'm tired, but it's okay. I can do it. Yes, my plate is full, but scoop the mashed potatoes over and in between the peas and pull back the turkey I got a little space right there, just a little space that I was trying to save for myself, but put it on there because I'm driven. I'm driven to be accepted. I'm driven to be loved. I'm driven to be liked. You become an overachiever. And when you're an overachiever, that means you don't even appreciate what you've done. You're on to the next thing. Oh, I can't believe you did that. That was good. Yes, thank you. But you know what? My next project is, and it's okay to be goal orientated, but at least stop and appreciate the work that you've done. You become a workaholic. Oh, child, I love to work. I just work. Because guess what? When I work, I don't have to be with myself. When I work, I don't have to look at my own shortcomings. When I work, I'm doing something for somebody else all the time. When I work, and listen, life without balance is no life at all. We don't set boundaries for ourselves. When we said we feel strange. We feel strange setting a boundary. We feel strange telling people that doesn't work for me. We feel strange. We're not familiar with that. We don't know what it is not to have boundaries in our life to say, no, that doesn't work for me. No, I don't want to do that. Because we're driven. That same little girl, that same little boy is driven. And we live in fear daily. We wake up in fear. We exist in fear. We go to bed in fear. Fear tucks us in. Because we're familiar with that. We're familiar. If things start working out, if things start working in our favor, the first thing we say is, oh my God, am I getting ready to die? Have you heard that? You get 2 good days in a row. 2 good days. Don't make it 3. I don't think your heart could take 3, but get 2. And you start having the thoughts of death. Because we were so driven by he died for our sins. He died. How dare you want more? He died. How dare you enjoy your life? He died, and you got to pay for that death over, and you feel guilty when it's hard, when it's not hard. Guilty. Oh man, that went so smooth. That's not really worth anything because everything kind of, went really smooth. I didn't have to have a sleepless night. I didn't have to have a drink behind it. I didn't have to become a sexaholic behind it. I didn't have to become a shopaholic behind it. That went smooth. Because mine is in the by and by. Mine is when I die. I'm not supposed to have it right here. I'm not supposed to have it here. So what? There's an ocean. So what? There's the birds that are singing, the trees that are blowing, the oxygen. So what? So what? Let's no. That's no. And we live with the lack of trust. We trust nobody. Not even God. Not even the universe. We might chant to the Buddha, but we don't trust the Buddha. We might bring our burdens to the altar, but we pick them girls right back up because let me tell you what, can't nobody fix it like I fix it, even though I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Because we are driven. Remember, it's always about you. And when things happen in your life, when you are triggered, You are triggered because that is an opportunity for you to stop and say, why am I being triggered by this? Because sometimes we like to think we're much further down the road. I'm a reverend. I've been revering for 30 years. Clearly, surely in goodness, His mercy is following me. But that's it. It's following me. It's not me, but it's following. It's still behind me because I'm driven and I don't stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. Because to stop is fear. Whew. But when you start driving, you slow down. When you start driving, you're able to realize, well, where is this coming from? Is this coming from my fear? Or is this coming from love? What is the message that I am to receive here? Am I still that little girl that felt like nobody loved her? Am I still that little girl that just wanted to be acknowledged and hugged? Am I still that little girl that just wanted the sense of safety? Or have I evolved? Have I embraced that little girl and allow her to know I'm here, I got you, that's where we came from, this is where we are. What's driving you? What's driving you? And only you can answer the question. God bless you, and thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.